Welcome to Season 2 of Healing the Tigress, a podcast of conversations and stories on Asian American Pacific Islander maternal mental health. We are your hosts, Peggy, a perinatal mental health therapist,
and Jasmine, a clinical pharmacist who is perinatal mental health certified. As Taiwanese American mothers who live through postpartum depression and anxiety, we felt like we didn't hear about other AAPI mothers struggling with their mental health in new motherhood. But we knew it couldn't just be us.
So we created this podcast because we hope that sharing these stories can start to break the stigma of mental health in our community and help heal the inner tigress in all AAPI parents. Welcome back, listeners. Today's guest is someone you may know from her work on ScaryMommy and other major parenting platforms. And we are thrilled that she was open to being on our podcast. Please help us welcome Alyce Chan, the hilarious mom behind at MomCom NYC, who is a stand-up comedian touring all over nationwide. Alyce has been featured in the New York Comedy Festival and placed finalist in the esteemed Boston Comedy Festival. She has also appeared on ABC, Hulu, The Drew Barrymore Show, and The Tamron Hall Show.
Alyce, we are huge fans of your work. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. Yeah. We're going to talk a bit about motherhood in the lens of Asian American maternal mental health. And we know you're so busy with touring, creating content, and just being perpetually responsible for everybody's meals till you die, right?
Right.
Can you start off by telling our listeners a little bit about your cultural background? And then we'd love to hear about your family and what the journey to motherhood was like for you.
Oh, it's a lot of questions. So we could talk about this all day, but I know we have limited time. I am Chinese, American, and Canadian. Mm-hmm. I identify myself more as a Canadian because I did grow up in Canada since I was 2. I moved to New York 19 years ago, and this is where I started my family. My mom and dad were born in China, dad specifically in Hong Kong. So they're immigrant parents. I'm second generation. I have 2 sisters, and I'm a mom of 2 boys, and it's keeping me very active.
Yeah, that boy energy for sure. And like we always see on your reels and stuff, they definitely seem like they keep you on your toes. So thank you again for your time today. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I know here we are a maternal mental health podcast. So I do want to dive straight into some of the things you shared with us in your pre-interview questions. You mentioned you experienced some postpartum depression, but it was mostly rage symptoms and you were never officially diagnosed. And postpartum rage is a topic I feel like we don't talk about much because I think especially in the Asian American community, it feels so shameful and confusing to have mom rage. And a lot of people just don't know that can be really common with postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of moms that can relate and want to hear more, but they just don't know where to start talking about this or finding someone to relate to. Can you please tell us a bit more about what this was like for you and how you realized it was part of postpartum depression later on?
Well, becoming a mom I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of followed my instincts. As a Chinese, Canadian, American, second gen, I never sought out therapy. And it wasn't around my house. I didn't grow up thinking therapy was healthy and that it was encouraged even along my friends. So that was something I never sought out. And I did feel alone being a stay-at-home mom. I was working since I was 15 and making my own income and being very independent. And suddenly I was given a choice by my partner who asked me, do you want to stay in your job? Which at that time I did not like. I was working in corporate banking, completely different from my personality. I hated work. It was boring. And I thought if I had a choice to stay at home with my baby, that would be the easiest job. And I had no idea how hard it was because it wasn't just physically hard and taxing. And also you're not getting any sleep, but you're not getting any help. We were not close to family. And also I question myself a lot. Like if I'm doing something right, I had no mommy friends. I had a lot of friends who thought I was too busy. There were friends who didn't have kids. So they were going on with their lives thinking that I was busy and that I didn't need them. I had no community and I felt alone for a while. And I remember that I was so resentful towards my husband. I was resentful because I was the one who had to feed the baby every 45 minutes. And the baby did not sleep. And I wanted to sleep train the baby. My partner didn't want to, but he was getting the sleep. And there were moments like in the middle of the night, I could hear the baby cry, but my husband would still be sleeping. And I think a lot of women can relate to how angry we are when we see our spouse sleeping versus a baby sleeping. So yeah, and I wasn't doing I wasn't doing stand-up. I quit stand-up because for me, I thought to be a good mom, I had to put 100% of my energy and my day with my baby. So we did baby and me classes, lullabies, like, yoga and baby and sing-along classes. And for a whole year, I was really resentful and I would fall asleep. And I told this to my friends. I said, when I try to fall asleep, I'm actually dreaming, not counting sheep. I'm actually counting how many times I'm punching my husband.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I said it a lot worse in the description. And my friends are like, Alyce, are you psychotic? Do you need help? I'm not going to kill my husband. I know I have a problem. I think that this is a phase, but I never sought help. And it was not until maybe like 4 or 5 years later, I finally sought therapy. And I was explaining to her how much rage and resentment I had towards my husband. Like I remember the first year I wanted to run away with my baby. And I was always happy around him. So I'm like, well, this isn't depression because PPD means depression. That's why they label it postpartum depression. I'm not depressed. So I thought I was normal. And I thought I didn't have any problems. But I think it should be renamed postpartum trauma, postpartum something. But it's not just depression you feel. You feel all things. I felt 100% rage, but not depressed. And it took me a while. And luckily, I didn't hurt my husband. I just slept through it and we're better now. But it's a real thing. And women need to talk to people during that time, especially after you've given birth.
Yeah. I also wonder how much more common it is in Asian Pacific Islander communities because growing up, we don't have a lot of modeling of what sadness looks like. And so sadness shows up a lot of times, whether if you're mother or father, it might have shown up as anger. Like I feel like anger was a feeling that our parents normalized. It was almost okay to be angry, but not okay to be anything else. Like that's the one feeling you see our parents express.
I like what you just said because it's so true. I knew what anger looked like. There was a lot of shouting and yelling and my mom being mad at my dad. And but sadness was you can't cry. You can't show your vulnerable feelings. You can't talk about things when you're sad. So I hid a lot of my emotions. And my dad was always had a stoic face. And I rarely saw my parents cry. And, some families in Asian culture, they think crying is a sign of weakness. And I thought that because I was never shown that it was okay to cry. And when I cried, I got in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That totally, Peggy, what you just said there, like the light bulb went off too, because I feel the same way that I grew up with, being in fear of the anger outbursts. And, like you said, Alyce, the crying was not allowed. And any sign of tears or whatever was immediately just like had to be shut down. And it's like they couldn't tolerate it either, almost like, we couldn't cause them distress with our tears. Right. And like what you also said about, you giving up your stand-up comedy stuff to be a stay-at-home mom and this sort of achieving or chasing the perfect mom image or ideal too. I think that maybe also we grew up with is that mom has to, be that rock, and mom has to, do these things, and mom has to sacrifice everything. And I think that resentment does build up because you gave up something you loved too. I mean, obviously you maybe didn't love your corporate job, but the other parts of you, I think it's hard to completely start over with a new identity and lose the other parts of yourself, because then again, people say this a lot too, we're sort of reborn with our babies, and recreating a brand new identity is so hard. It's like trying to grasp parts of your old self too. So I can see where, a lot of that. And if you're not expressing it somewhere, if you're not letting it out somewhere, and all you have is just you and your baby at home when you're alone, it's like, I can't let this out on my baby, or maybe some people do. And some moms feel shame for that. I've heard that sort of cycle of the outburst and then feeling immediately shamed or scared or like guilty about it. And then you feel like you're doing something wrong. So it just it just keeps cycling and it doesn't come out anywhere. Right.
Yeah. That's so true.
And I think you also mentioned to us too that you were a high-risk geriatric pregnancy and you didn't really know how many children you would have, and you would be happy with just one. And we've talked a little bit on this podcast here and there about, people who decide, to have one, or maybe after they had their first, they realized maybe this is the best thing for my mental health. And, it also seems like more and more these days women are having children later just because of, life and circumstances. And having this label, I feel like, of geriatric pregnancy can be so nerve-wracking, and also kind of just like, why do you have to label it like that?
Right. Yeah. Because we don't hear about geriatric dads.
Yeah.
Dads like Robert De Niro, we don't call him geriatric dad. And I was like, so that when you put a label on it, you, as a woman, you start feeling ashamed because I'm like, so my body's not useful anymore. Like this youth thing is gone after 35, which is not true. Like I had 2 healthy pregnancies. I was never the type to always want a baby and be a family, like a stay-at-home parent. And it all changed when I had the baby. And they're both healthy pregnancies. And I was a lot older when I started because I wasn't ready. I was a late bloomer. I loved being selfish, being like able to travel, going out, sleeping in, eating whatever I wanted. And as soon as I had my first baby, I was on a strict diet because I had gestational diabetes. And I was so bummed because I had to, I eat croissants all the time. And it was my first time. I was like, had to stop eating rice. And that's hard for a Chinese girl.
Staple.
Yeah. Rice, carbs, and sugar. That was when I finally took my health seriously. But the label of being a geriatric pregnant woman, that needs to be gone.
Yeah.
That's,
Okay, there's another term now that's advanced maternal age, which I don't know if it's any better.
Why?
I don't know if I like that better.
Why do we even need? Yeah. Why add more worries when you're over 35? Okay, now you have to worry because, like, why do we need to even categorize that, right? It's like, hi, I'm advanced maternal age. So what? How does that serve you?
No.
You could say, hi, I'm 40 and trying.
And the thing is, like,
why?
Maybe it's to help the practitioners be on high alert, but at the same time, it's like, you can see my medical chart. You can see how old I am. You don't have to put a label on my age. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, like, I know so many healthy people, though, at 40 having babies.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jasmine, like, you know my age. You've seen my chart. You should be reading my chart before you look at me, right? So.
Yeah. I guess after the experience of the first one, how did you decide to have the second one? Because I think that's sometimes a question that weighs on people too. It's like, okay, I had mine a little later. Should I try again? Yeah.
And I was fine not having a second one because I knew I was older. But also I have 2 sisters. We're best friends. And I don't know if you both have siblings. I think it's the best gift my parents gave me. Those are my best friends, and I didn't want to deny my first one, a sibling. And also, I feel like as only children, when you grow up and the parents are gone, you're left with so much burden and responsibility. I wanted to alleviate that pressure on him. So I talked to my partner. I'm like, I'm ready to try after I turned 40 because I still want to party at 40. It was a big milestone birthday. I didn't party. I didn't go crazy. I just went on a trip. But I want to give it some time, and I was ready after 40 and a healthy pregnancy, and if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. It wasn't I needed to have a second kid. It was really like, okay, if it works out, it was meant to be. If not, it's okay. We can also adopt. We looked into adoption as well as an option.
Did the doctors have any concerns, or they're just like, oh, whatever, even though you were labeled geriatric pregnancy, or did they just kind of let it go smoothly? Like, okay, cool, you're pregnant, yay.
They were actually okay with it. I switched OBGYNs after my first one, and they were okay with it. I also didn't have gestational diabetes with my second one, which was really interesting, right? Because you think
all the croissants.
Right. I started eating. Oh my God. My baby was so big though. The second baby came out huge. So slow down the sugar if you're trying to get pregnant.
And the second one I hear that grows faster. So also you just show faster and sooner. Yes. So
you show really fast. I mean, I know some people who don't show for months. I showed soon I was 5 hours pregnant. I was like, you could tell I was pregnant. I have a very short torso, and it's like, you could tell. And I thought it was going to be a girl because, naturally I thought, oh, I already have a boy. I think I'm going to have a girl. I'm ashamed to admit that I was very upset finding out it was a boy. And one of my friends told me, she was pregnant at the same time, and she also had a boy, but her second one's a girl. And she told me, when you meet him, you'll know why he's a boy. And it's so true. And he's the sweetest lamb. He's so sweet. But yes, 2 boys. I'm still eating croissants.
I don't think you need to feel shameful for feeling that. And we've talked about this briefly with another guest before that, the gender disappointment is a real thing. And I think being able to admit that to yourself will also help you get through that too. Yeah. It's something I think we don't talk about enough. And then that's probably why it feels shameful. That's like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, right? Like I should be grateful. And I think that's a sentence that comes a lot. You should just be grateful. Mm-hmm. You should be grateful you have one. You should be grateful you have two. Everything feels like you should just be grateful. And that can be a hard thing to swallow.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that people put so much weight on it unless you've done IVF to choose a gender, it's the luck of the draw. So of course you're going to feel certain things if it's not what you, it's like gambling. You're like, oh man, I wanted this, right? It just happens. But also what great content for Boy Mon stuff as a comedian.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that we're so excited to have you, because you're our first comedian, officially comedian. And we've had funny guests before, but I think you're our first official comedian. And it's just so rare in the Asian community. I don't know a lot of Asian comedians or, Asians that have parents that are like, yeah, go be a comedian. So I would love to know, did you always know that you were going to be a comedian? And how has being a comedian changed over time after you entered motherhood?
Ooh, no, I never thought I was going to be a stand-up comedian, and I would not want my sons be comedians in the future. I don't. I always thought I'd be a vet or an artist for some, a fine art, teacher or a painter. I loved art, but I knew it wasn't practical. And my mom and dad ingrained in my head, you have to go to business school. So I was an economics major. I worked at a bank. And then I started doing graphic design on the side and filmmaking. And the stand-up comedy came late, but I always knew it was funny because as a kid, I had trouble making friends. And kids can be really cruel when they're young. They kind of just base on what they see at face value. So if you don't have the right dress on, if you're not pretty and you don't have the colored pencil case and the nice book bags, they don't talk to you. And I felt excluded. And I learned that being funny was a way to connect people to me. And I learned at a very early age what that felt, the validation when I was able to make someone laugh. And that felt very empowering as a kid. I knew that feeling. And all my life, people have told me, you should be a comedian, you should be a comedian, but never thought stand-up comedy, because I always thought, oh, that stuff is hard. I can't stand in front of people talking, until I took my first class. And it actually is much easier than most people think, because you have a script in your head. It's not improv, it's scripted, and you just deliver it. And it's really just you talking. There's nobody competing for your space. And I'm an introvert. I've done acting classes and improv where people compete for the camera, and I just stay back. But with stand-up, you're right in the center. And to me, it's very therapeutic. I take all the problems, struggles. I talk about my past, and I find the lightness of it, and I make it funny. And to me, that's going through it with humor, and it's healing. And I've forgiven a lot of my parents' mistakes or actions that I thought were not love. And it's made me laugh about them. You laugh with them. Now that my dad's gone, I have a lot of funny stories about him. Ironically, after he passed, I started to put him on stage with me. So it's nice when I'm like traveling. I tell these stories about my dad and people are laughing. And then I feel like I'm giving them a glimpse of how silly my dad was. And it's very cathartic.
So has your comedy sort of evolved over time into like more motherhood comedy and things like that?
I mean, my Instagram it started off 100% motherhood, about babies not sleeping, kids not listening, then boy moms. And so as they grow, I find more content. Now they're bickering. Like, so there's a lot of sibling bickering, like why did I have two? Or like now they want a dog, and now my dog's in the picture. And now
I love your dog.
Oh, I didn't want a dog. I was anti-dog. They convinced me, and now we're like best friends. And then I infuse, I see my mom a lot, and I want to infuse more of my personality and who I am in my Instagram. So it's not all parenthood, but most of it is because I'm surrounded by my kids all day. So, right.
I guess you can sort of, instead of crying over things, just laugh about it instead.
Right.
Because
Otherwise, you're going to be crying all day. Who has time for that?
It feels much nicer to laugh.
Isn't it? Yeah. You could give a nice big cry once in a while in the shower, but just to laugh at insane, mundane parenting struggles throughout the day, or like why your spouse did that to you. Like, it's just, it just makes your day a lot lighter.
Yeah.
You're not harboring resentment.
Yeah. Do you think that that's kind of what also helped you get over some of the rage in the beginning, is when you started to find humor in things?
Yeah, I think so. I think it really helped a lot. Like, I mean, my husband's not perfect. He's done things that really annoy me, and I will be seething, and then I'll turn it into a reel in 24 hours. And I'm like, oh, this got a lot of good engagement. This is great. And then I'm like, I should be grateful that he did that.
Yeah, especially I love those like bathroom ones where I'm like, God, why is this a universal thing? Why did he sit in there for half an hour? I
don't know. I think it's something to do with their anatomy, and they know that's going to take long. So they're like, might as well be entertained and watch the news and watch memes and text my friend. Where women are like, their bodies are just like, whoops, need to get it out.
We have things to do.
I got things to do. Chop. Yeah.
How gross is doing that in the bathroom with your like device all day? I mean, I hope that gets wiped down. But anyways, yeah, and so many of your reels are relatable to the Asian American community, which we love. Have this combination, and especially I feel like there's the ones where you like do made up scenes with like your mom. I especially love the one where you ask your mom, like, how do you say, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm sorry. And she runs to cut fruit. And it's like, oh, yes, that's a universal Asian love language, right? And we also know that a lot of Asian parents probably don't think the arts are a suitable career. So how did your parents take it when you told them you were going to be a comedian?
I never told them. That's what I do. You just don't tell your parents. Yeah. My dad, till I think the last day of he still thought I worked for the bank.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when I used to work for the bank, he was so proud of me because I was like, he only loved money, right? He only talked about money, casino, stock market. And when I worked for the bank, he was like, wow, you're this much closer to money. And like, he was just so proud of me. So I never told him. And I remember one time I did a show. He was like 87, a year before he died. And I did a show at a casino. It was a comedy show, but it was in the bottom floor of the casino. So I told him, I was like, Dad, I did a show today. It was at the casino in Surrey. And it's so cool because it was like at the casino. And then he's like, oh, how much did you make? And I'm like, oh, $300. And he's like, oh, good for you. Good for you. And I think our language, because he speaks Cantonese. I speak broken Cantonese.
Mhm.
And I think he thought I told him, Dad, I want $300 at the casino. And he was so proud. He was so proud of me. I was like, wait a minute. No, he's too happy. Okay, he misunderstood. He thought I want $300.
But you didn't correct him, did you?
No, I was like, I'm just going to leave it. He's so happy right now and proud that I won. I'll just leave it.
The takeaway, listeners, is just don't tell your parents.
So ironically, though, my mom, I slowly kind of peppered it in, and she is so supportive. She's never come to my shows. She's like, I can't understand English, so it wouldn't be worthwhile. But she did tell me, she's like, but you do these really goofy dances, and they make her laugh. Like I just go nuts. And she's like, that's what you should do when you come on stage. I was like, I don't know, Mom. I don't think people pay to watch me dance. And she's like, no. She's like, it's not because you're good at dancing. It's because it's so goofy. It's funny. I was like, oh, okay. And she goes, do that each time you get on stage. And so now I do that each time I get on stage. And I think it preps me and makes me feel really happy and silly. And I think it makes the audience kind of just like, I can just like kind of let go, let my guard down. She's so stupid up there. So, it's like, doesn't matter what I say or how I look. I'm just going to relax.
I have noticed that with Asian female comedians, there's a lot of, it's not called body humor. What is it called with the humor when you use your body? Yeah, physical humor. Like, I don't know. And I don't know what it is, but it hits just right with Asian female comedians for some reason.
Really? I
don't know why. Yeah.
I don't know why either.
I think it breaks a mold because I think the stereotype of the Asian female is like very submissive and quiet and whatever. And we're doing all these, when you're doing all these things with your body, it hits something like, you're doing something outside the box.
So true. It's so true. Like demure, quiet, and like you laugh like this. Right?
Yeah. No, breaking the mold. Look at you breaking ancestral molds with your comedy.
With my bad dancing.
Yeah. So you can go back and tell your mom, like, look at the powerful work I'm doing with my dancing.
This is why I went to school.
We also love that you talk openly about mental health and parenting in this generation as cycle breakers who are breaking away from some of the traditional Asian parenting styles. What has been the hardest part of parenting for you?
I think being really patient when you are so exhausted by the end of the day, and the guilt of leaving your kids. When I'm traveling, I feel guilty. And then I want to overdo it. When I come back, I overcompensate. And then I get upset because your body won't lie to you. If you're tired and drained, you're going to react to small triggers. And I've noticed that. And I think I need to, like, even when I go to the gym, I'm like, I feel guilty leaving them to go to the gym. And I know it's wrong to think that, but it's something I'm working on. And I need to do that because I'm better for them when I come back. I'm better for my husband and everybody else. And yeah, that's the hardest part, just like stepping away to take time for myself.
I think that's part of that cycle breaking, though, of you wanting to self-martyr all the time. Right.
Yes.
And again, and it's interesting because you said earlier that like before you had kids, you were like, I just wanted to be selfish all the time. And now it's like, I can't even be anymore.
Yeah. And it's working out, exercising is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
Right.
And I'm still thinking, oh, I feel guilty leaving for an hour.
Yeah. But also, if you want to tie that into mental health, like that exercise is also good for your mental health.
Yes.
And that is a necessity too, to take care of that.
Yes.
So
definitely 100%. If you don't miss a workout, like you never, I don't think anyone has ever worked out and regretted that.
Yeah.
It's
well,
right?
I'm like,
you didn't say, I'm so glad I ran that mile. I did. I'm so sad I ran that mile.
it was painful, but I guess I'm glad at the end of it that, you know,
Yeah. I'm
it.
sore the whole day next day. Like I did weights. I walked so much yesterday and my body feels it, but I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful my body is able to feel all those muscle aches.
We're talking about a lot of gratitude here.
I also had a friend that was like, I can't be a good mom if I don't get my run in. She's like, because I was like, we compete on this like app to see how far people are going right with it, because we all have Apple Watches and it keeps us accountable. And I was like, how did you run 6 miles today? I barely walked 3. She's like, because if mommy doesn't get her 6 mile run in, nobody's happy. And I was like, oh, that's a good point, you know? 6 miles is a lot. I mean, if she's listening, kudos to you with your 6 miles.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's too much.
You.
I've never ran 6 miles in my life, so good job. Okay. And I know you've mentioned your dad a few times, and you know, it's been really touching to watch you share the raw side of your grief, I think, and then turning that grief into humor and joy again. I recently lost my grandma, and then it's okay. I know you've shared also you've lost yours, and you know, seeing how my mom dealt with it, it's suddenly I feel like I have a lot of panic about how I'm going to handle it when my parents pass. And it's kind of hard to talk to your parents about death. Like I just feel like that's something that doesn't really come up either. So I'm wondering if you have any advice for those who may have lost a parent or a loved one recently, and how to make it through that grief.
Yeah. I think you just have to really embrace it. Grief is here forever, just like how you had the love for that person. And someone quoted this, not from me, but grief is really love that doesn't have a home. You have nowhere to place it. And you're carrying all this, but it's become you now. You are now a different person because of this grief. And we have this weight, this grief, and we learn how to live with it. Like a bad roommate. You learn to live with this roommate and you can create harmony. Eventually you'll learn how to live around the roommate, walk around it. You know, you have your own schedules, but you learn to live with this grief. It's always going to be with you. You're changed forever. But it just indicates how much love you had for this person. And I think you have to look at all those memories, the happy memories, the funny moments. And my dad was not a perfect dad, and he made my mom really angry a lot of the times, and he had really bad habits. But there's a handful of really happy moments I have, and I hold on to those. And those are the sparkles that give me the joy and remind me of how beautiful of a human he was. And he just had a hard time because he had a hard childhood. And I've accepted who he is, and took a long time to accept him. But at the end of the day, I knew he loved me. And I keep talking about them and share stories because they're never gone. Really. They're always in here and here.
It's like he's living on, I think, like you mentioned, he's showing up in a lot of your comedy now, and you're getting to relive that. And what I love too is just, I feel like as children of immigrants and the childhoods we've grown up with, there are things that I feel like a lot of us wish maybe our parents had been more of this or that. And finding space to forgive certain things can be hard. And I think sometimes you don't necessarily always reach that until it's a lot later. So hearing how you're turning that around, and like you said, he wasn't a perfect dad, but he loved you, and that's what you're gonna take away. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I think everyone can. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but he had so many faults, but I'm not remembering those faults. They kind of just fade away in the background. But it's those times he wanted to make me feel special. And there were a handful of times. And gosh, that made me feel so special. And I hang on to those memories. And really, that made planning his funeral a lot more special. It was such an honor to do that for him. And yeah, just... It's so funny. I even have a picture of him right here staring at me right now as we're talking. He's so cute. But what a strange man, though. Yeah, you'll hear the stories when you come up to my one of my shows. He's a very strange guy, but
must be a prerequisite for Asian dads. Like, they're all so quirky. Like, why are they so quirky?
So quirky, but so cute. So cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to attend one of your shows one day.
We'll have to do that together.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
And then we could go to eat Chinese food.
Yes. Some, please.
That sounds so good. We are asking all of our guests at the end, what is something that you would tell yourself back when you were in the thick of it? And that's all part of that healing, that inner tigress, right? Like, if you could go back when you were in the thick of it, whether it's the postpartum rage or wherever part was just kind of the hardest part of your life, what would Alyce today tell Alyce then?
This feeling isn't permanent. You're not going to feel like this all the time. So you're not stuck.
That's great advice.
It is.
Yeah, because, when you feel sad and you always feel, oh, I'm dreading. No, it's going to pass. Then you're going to feel something else. But same with joy. You're going to feel joy, but that's also going to pass. So you're always going to fluctuate. You're changing and evolving.
I love that.
Alyce, thank you again so much for your time and your humor and wisdom. This was so great.
This was so nice for me.
One last question, Alyce. Do you know Ali Wong, and can you get her on our podcast?
I was going to ask you that. I really was. That was my last question. No, I'm probably like 13 degrees in separation. Sorry. Just because I'm Alyce Chan doesn't make me any closer. I'm so sorry. I know you wanted the Ali Wong, and this is like the Temu version of the Ali Wong.
No, not at all. We are, honestly, when I told Peggy we got you to agree, we were like so excited.
Yeah.
So excited.
Like celebrity status.
I have to say, I was telling Peggy this when I first found you, and I added you on Instagram, and I was like, oh my God, this Asian comedian, she's so funny. This Asian mom. And then you followed me back, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember we had this small exchange where you were like, yeah, like Asian moms and Asian women have to support each other. And I was just like so touched. Oh,
yeah. Oh. I'm always out there looking for Asian moms in the playground. I'm like, Asian mom. I'm like, beeline. We need to stick together.
So thank you. Thank you.
This was so fun.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Healing the Tigress. The more we share these stories, the more we can help other AAPI mothers and partners. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to keep supporting this mission, please hit the subscribe button to the show and take a few seconds to leave a rating. An extra big thanks if you would also leave a review to boost our show visibility and help other AAPI folks find us.
You can also follow us on Instagram at Healing the Tigress, or even better, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Healing the Tigress podcast to support us more. Inside the Patreon, we will be offering more bonus episodes, sneak peeks, and a community for you to help shape our podcast too. Thanks for being here.
Healing the Tigress is produced and edited by Peggy and Jasmine.
Music for this show is remixed by Dr. Tony Huynh of Tony Mixes.
Our intro music is a cover of You and Me by Z Avi, played by our co-host Peggy.
Our outro music is a cover of Green Island Serenade, played by Jasmine's sister.
Cover art design is by Dr. Angela Chung.